out there, Groundswell? Yeah! Having a good night? I have had a weird 3 weeks. It's been very strange. It's been, I just don't know any other way to explain it, and I won't go into the hard details, but I had a Friday, was it 3 Fridays ago now, where I went from one of the lowest situations I've ever been into, and I had to move a bunch of things out of the house that I'm paying for because I wasn't going to get to re-enter the house until I got through a court battle. And that meant I had to take my guitars and musical equipment. I knew I was only going to be able to get about 10% of my stuff. So I had to decide what 10% I was going to haul out right then. And I had about 4 hours to do it. And I had some friends show up and help, you know, as much as they could, but really it was about me and, you know, my doctors don't like me lifting more than a gallon milk jug, so they'd have been furious with me at the end of this day. And at a point when I just didn't know if I could take it anymore, the mother of my youngest, Madonna, called me up and told me, hey, Melanie's going to be at CSPS. I said, what? Yeah, Melanie is going to be at CSPS. I got you a ticket. She goes, I wanted to get me a ticket too, but they only had one left. So I was in shock. This is a person who was one of my key mentors. The first album I ever bought was a Melanie album. And she played Woodstock. She was one of the great folk flower-powered children of the era. And I never had a chance to see her. About 3 different times in LA, I came close, but I had other things. 2 times I had tickets to somebody else that I just couldn't give up. And the 3rd time, I was playing myself at a big festival that I could not give up. So I started to resign myself to the fact that I was never going to get a chance to see her. And then to see her at CSPS was incredible, and her youngest boy was playing with her. They were both playing nylon string godams. They were just incredible, and he was almost at Segovia level. And after the show, I thought about talking to her, but I don't know, I kind of got, and that never usually happens with me and celebrities. I used to live in Hollywood and run into them all the time, but this one was real important to me, and so instead of talking to her, I talked to her son. I talked to him for like 20 minutes, and in that 20 minutes, he made me give him 10 hugs. 2 of them had to be heart to heart. We had to line our hearts up. And I knew at that point in time that he was definitely his mother's child. But when I first decided to play a guitar, it was a Melanie song that I wanted to play. And unfortunately, it was not the first I played. And I still sometimes struggle with the damn E minor. But for about 6 years of my career, it was my opener. So, thanks Melanie for bringing this one back for me. Tuning my guitar. Well, I'm thinking about what I'm doing. I'm thinking about what I've done. I'm thinking about my mother, who never thought I'd play this far from nowhere to hear myself be sung, but I still haven't forgotten. I used to do it just for the fun.
tune my guitar. You know, that song I mentioned that, Melanie wrote it, but like I said, it had a feeling, because I don't think my mother ever thought I was going to go as far as I did in this whole singing thing, writing and playing. And inevitably, I had to write a song for her. And there was two great gifts my mother gave me. One, this life, and the second was that she had me when she was 19 years old, and about a year and a half before that, she made a conscious decision that she knew her parents loved her, but it wasn't unconditional. Her parents had conditions on their love, and didn't make her love her parents any less, but she looked around at her life and she said, you know, love needs to be unconditional. It needs to be something that you give no matter what. So, almost 2 years before I was born, she made that decision that her life and her love was going to be unconditional. And she started with me, and later on she married a man other than my father, who had 5 kids. One of them was murdered, and the 4 kids came to live with us. And she practiced that unconditional love on them. And her and my stepfather, the man who was dad to me, had a child, and on him. And eventually, it even got to my dad. It was probably about as far from that model as it could be, but at the end of his life, he was an unconditional love guy too. She converted him. And I've tried as much as I can with my 4 children, and my grandchildren, to be that unconditional love person. And it's the greatest gift my mother ever gave to me other than life, was that unconditional love. This one is called In My Mother's Eyes. I've been listening to a lot of different stuff lately, but one of the albums that really caught me about a year ago was by The Devil Makes Three. Self-titled album, The Devil Makes Three. And this one's pretty short, so I also like that. It's Graveyard. Let's see, I'll do one by another one of my mentors, because it's a fingerpick song, and I don't do them near enough. And I was reminded the other day, I've started this thing where I go downtown randomly, and you know, one day a week and just set someplace and play. And just watch the interactions. And this was one of the ones I got to do. This is John Prine's Fish and a Whistle. I've been thinking lately about the people I meet. Cars on the corner and a hole in the street. The way my act hurt with shoes on my feet. And I'm wondering if I'm gonna see them tomorrow. Father, forgive us for what we must do. You forgive us and we'll forgive you. We'll forgive each other too and both turn loose. Whistle and go fishing into heaven. On my very first job I said thank you and please. Made me trouble parking lot down on my knees. Then I got scared. so this next one is going to be our last one for the night. And this used to be my closer for probably, I don't know, almost a decade. And it struck me the other day that I hadn't played it for nearly a decade. So, and just so you know, I wrote this before I actually left Iowa and went on my grand foray out into the world of entertainment out in Los Angeles. But the guy saw me play at the club. And he came up to me and he said, you know, I'm a wannabe filmmaker, I'm a cameraman. At the time he worked for NFL Films. NFL Films was brand new. And he was the last intern of David O. Selznick. Now, probably doesn't mean a whole lot to many of you, but if you're in the film biz, you know who David O. Selznick was. And this was at the end of David O. Selznick's career. And so it was exciting to me that a guy who was trained by David O. Selznick, working in the business, wanted to do this video. Now, the song is a horror song, and it was almost a decade before Thriller. So if we actually had shot the video, it would have been the first horror video. Somehow I got saved that. This is known as the Lake McBride Horror, also known as Mountain Man.
Lake McBride.
eyes that click back and forth, and it starts right insane. Like a double time finger, feeling all this song. The 13, yeah, left now, and alone. Hey, mountain man, what you gonna do here? 13 men for just for fun. Hey, mountain man, what you gonna be? I've been bruising all the death of me. Say, hey, mountain. He's buried on a piece of land along Bride's hollow shores. Took 2 full clips from a 45 and sent back to his grave.